All right, well, we are here today with Lou Carter. It's an absolute privilege. Lou is a trailblazer in helping organizations incorporate that emotional connection for peak performance. Lou, I am so excited to find out more about your journey into this, more about what you're doing now. But let's start with your background. Where did this dream, how did you get in to this field and to this drive?
Yeah, it really started through drumming. I was a drummer for many years, and I figured out I really love being in group and in a band in group, and also during when I was getting my graduate degree at Columbia in New York City is during 9/11, and it literally hit the first day. 9/11 happened the first day of my graduate degree, and getting it. And so I did what any red-blooded American would do is I started a drum circle, and what was great about that was that I learned about community the most because everybody came together. They could let go of all their horrible thoughts that come into all of our minds about such a catastrophic, devastating event, and be with each other. And that became the sort of modus operandi, my MO around why I do what I do with companies and why I started Best Practice Institute and also Most Loved Workplace, because to live in a world of work where everybody wins and employees truly love to do at what they want to do at their best and love those that they work with and their company is what our research shows. You perform 2 to 4 times more and you stay 2 to 4 times more when you love your workplace. And that's true of being in drum circle and letting go of the past and our present even at times, and also of being with each other in workforce community.
That's amazing how you brought the two together. But it's right. It's all about community. And I failed to mention as well, you are an author to, I believe, 11 books. So your concept and what you've developed here is definitely in high demand. You've implemented it in some of the largest companies. What is your biggest reward and satisfaction as you see really probably the aha moment when this top leadership of large companies takes the time to say, you know what, we need this and we're willing to invest and incorporate this into our organization?
Yeah, it takes the form of different sort of situations. I can think of just my favorite CEO I work with. I do have favorites, and you probably know it. That people know it, and it's kind of an awareness that what you're doing is making true change. It's not just with strategy and profit and growth. It's about how do people feel when they're doing it, right? And are they feeling like they're making that huge difference in their life and other people's lives? Are they creating a legacy for themselves and others and following their own path? So I hear a lot about, oh, change that leader, change that CEO. I don't believe that. What I say is find the strengths and ensure that they do more of it, and potentially stop some of the things that are mostly stop the things that are harming them or getting in their way. So everything is about, in my work, is what do you stop, start, do more or less of? You know that from Ironman, right? So in your head, when you go ahead and you're running, and you have this. I started running a little bit, not like you do, but in the beginning, it's with a CEO. When that CEO or even HR team or culture team says themselves, I've now discovered the things that we need to do better, rather than being just looking at benchmarks, right? And saying, I need to be better than this company, better than that company. They start to say, what can I do better for myself? What can I do better as a leader, as a company? And I don't have to look at the benchmarks necessarily. They're important because you need to see benchmarks. What's more important, though, is how you're running your race. Your race. And when you start to realize you're running your race, you innovate better, you grow more, you have better strategy, and you win because you're now winning against yourself. When that happens, when that light bulb goes off, it's beautiful. And CEOs, I love it when they figure that out. I love it when we have a connection and they develop that first thought. I know what I need to do to get really strong. I'm running against myself, not others. And that's immensely gratifying to me.
What would be, obviously, I guess my question, let's get into what brings a leader to the point where they feel like, okay, I need to reach out to you, to incorporate something like this? Is it usually like a big situation that explodes in their face? Is it just the lack of seeing growth within the company? What are some of the driving forces that gets, a decision maker to the point to say, hey, we need help?
Yeah. So I always say, come to me from wherever you are right now, because the majority of people who come to us, they come from a place of strength. They know who they are. They know where they want to go. They know what their growth pattern is, and they want to get an understanding of it. They want to use we call it love of workplace index to determine what employees are saying and wanting from them for within our construct. And they do it really to become what's called a top decile or employer of choice, top workplace, because they're either growing, they want to get more employees, they want to get the right employees, and they want to motivate and engage their existing employees and ensure that they stay longer. And there's different reasons around that. It could be because you just had an acquisition, or you perhaps your competition is stronger than ever, and you may be concerned that you're going to be acquired. There's reasons. There is risk reasons as well about brand, and also around awareness of your name recognition. So there could be some negative aspects or negative press. All those things exist. It could be lawsuits, risk management. Those all exist. And at the same time, the people approach us because of human resources issues, number one. So good things that you want to get better at and become a top decile company, employer choice, or B, they need communications, marketing, and to be able to prove that they are a place where employees love to work.
Yeah, yeah. So don't be humble here when I ask you this, Lou. What, brag on yourself a little bit and tell us your strengths out of confidence. What makes your process of coming in and cultivating this, helping a large organization? I mean, it's one thing to do it in a small organization, but there's so many challenges within a large organizations like the types you've worked with and been very successful with. What differentiates you? What helps you to get in there? And is it something from your past? You mentioned you're figuring out how important community was, but there's more. I'm sure there's more there. What's some of the big factors that set you and make you different and sets you apart?
One of the things that I always say, in the community of people that I'm known for, that's what kind of happens. You're known in a community, and not the larger community. You're known in, but my smaller community, it's like 42,000. It's smaller though. It's not 100 or it's not a million. It's smaller of people. They know me for this concept of whole system transformation, co-creation. That's what I'm known for. And so and that's in my book, In Great Company. It's in my book, Change Champions Field Guide. And the whole concept of whole system transformation, or just change in general, change championship, is that it uses the power, it harnesses the power of the team and the strengths of the team as it exists now to design the future. So what does that mean? So we have just on a very sort of bottom line level, there's a design team that's formed from the top players who make the most change in the company. That design team actually facilitates itself to create next action steps and items to change, to become truly great, truly most loved, right? So imagine how, you probably know McKinsey and the big consulting firms, and they come in, they have their really important presentations and they tell you what to do. So what happens to those? 80% of them fail. Those change efforts fail. And they fail because nobody adopts them. They don't want to do them. There's nobody doing that work. and there's nobody to manage that work happening, it becomes voluntary discretionary effort for people who have regular jobs every single day to do even more that they don't want to do. So if imagine that groups of people who want to do this as a group, as a design team, people who are completely excited to do it, and managing and holding each other accountable to make real change. And the change can take part of many things. It could be a new marketing teams communicating the change to people, getting even more feedback and bringing the CEO to everybody to shake all the hands of people and learn everybody's name. It's the feedback, the feelings of employees that we're really getting into an understanding. And that is the core of it. Utilizing how employees feel and how they are within a system as data, the true data behind making those changes inside of a company. So how do we know if our heart rate is high? How do we know if we're having a cramp? Well, and then what do we do about it? So what is your team going to do about it, right? What are you going to do about it? Well, sometimes you just let it happen and it gets worse and worse and worse. We don't regulate, so we can't get better. We can't get to that next level. So this is about regulating what we know from diagnostics and data and making change from within your company. And not just telling, here's a report, go do it. It's co-creating. Here's a report, let's understand it. Let's use data to make real decisions and then project manage it throughout a year's time and show real change. Because if you don't make change and you don't follow up on a continuous basis, nothing's going to happen. Change has to happen. It must be practiced each day.
The power of consistency. Absolutely. Absolutely.
You know that.
So, but within these processes, through your journey of, years of doing this, surely there have been times where, roadblocks have come up as you're trying to accomplish this within an organization. Give us an example of what those might have been and maybe how you overcame them.
It's always been hubris. Always. It really has been. It's every time it's that this is the only way to do it. I know this is the way people want to take over the project and be the only champion rather than enabling the system to take over for itself. Hubris is one of the greatest sort of detractors from change. It assumes that there's one or two individuals who can do it and nobody else can. And that's just simply not how change happens. Change happens in groups. It happens in wholes, and it does happen at the top. Yet it must happen with everybody believing that you have a common set of values and principles and vision for the future. So hubris is the biggest detractor.
Gotcha. Now let's add in technology to the mix. So surely you've been doing this for years now. How have you seen the effect of technology maybe adding to the problem of the disconnection and because before there might have been more face-to-face, or even with the coming of COVID and more virtual calls instead of in-person meetings, what are some of the trends that are maybe positive or have been negative over these last couple of years and how it's affected everything?
Yeah. So I can give you my perception. There's a lot of research behind it.
Okay.
There's research that substantiates disconnection. I have a article in ATD called "Emotional Disconnection," and there's the picture in the front is an individual typing on a computer with another individual talking to this other individual typing on a computer, and the assumption is that there's disconnection when that occurs. And a lot of research substantiates that kind of disconnection. Yet, we haven't accounted for other things or other variables, which are this: would I have met you had there not been technology? Would I have met you?
That's a good point.
Yeah, these are important things. Would I have met you had we had to be in a studio? Maybe the barriers to entry would have been much higher. Zoom has revolutionized the business industry. Then Google, of course, Google Meet has StreamYard, your other platforms you use, having teams who understand it. It's the broken glass theory. Adam Smith, Wealth of Nations. When we break the glass, who else is going to pick up the pieces and put the new improved window back on? And what are the new jobs that occur as a result? COVID, this disconnection that we are talking about now is much like the broken glass theory. We have teams coming together to help with podcasts, with shows. We can now speak from across the world on shows rather than having to dive in. I once had to travel across the world to speak at a conference. I don't have to now. I can talk on a Zoom. And it's so much better that way. I see it. So personally, from my perspective, I'm really happy about it. It's fulfilling me. And the field of HR, employees are ecstatic about remote work opportunities. And they're amazingly ecstatic. It comes up so high. We code emotions. That's one of the things we do at my company is we code emotions associated with comments so that we can formulate our own machine learning algorithm from our work. So my team does this. My whole company jumps in and we all code emotions associated with comments. These emotions, a lot of them connect to remote work. We're categorizing remote work almost always, saying how much they appreciate the fact that they have remote work options. They can spend a little bit more time with their family, even if they have to work a little harder, and they could do it at home. They never have this. They don't have a commute as much to work or come back home. So people are really upping their gratitude and appreciation these days due to remote work. And it's becoming a connectedness factor for people. And for those who really require and thirst for that kind of personal face-to-face, they can go to work still. Or if it's not there anymore, we'll do Zoom.
Absolutely. That's great. So yeah, you see the silver lining in it for sure. And you're right. It can be used for so much good when used in the correct way. So looking into the future, Lou, how do you, another book in the future of your company continue to expand and grow? Give us some insight into some of your goals moving forward now.
I have a new book coming out called I Hate Love This Place. And it's based upon our work on most loved workplaces. It's about looking at the companies that not just we've worked with, but companies in general. What does it take for an employee to really hate their company, really hate where they work, and then what does it take for them to love it, so that everyone out there can say, this is the kind of culture I want to work at. This is what's required to get into a culture like this. These are the kinds of companies I want to work with. So we bring back work again in our lives. It's not such a bad thing. It's not this negative thing in our lives. It's about being in this great community, as we talked about before, doing things that we truly care about with the people we truly care about and the company vision and purpose we truly care about. And that's what the book is about. It's no longer about hating work. It's changing our relationship with work so that it's more a part of something we love to do rather than despise on Mondays.
Yeah, and you know what they say, if you love what you do, you'll never work a day in your life. So it's so important to, really, cultivate that passion and gratitude and appreciation and that they feel that back. Because you're right, peak performance is right there waiting to shine when you're cultivating that. Well, before we close out, go ahead.
Our change is if you love where you work, you'll perform
yeah.
more. And so it's not just what I would just want to say that the differentiator for us is that love analytics. When you love where you work, you will perform 2 to 4 times more and stay 2 to 4 times more. So it's the where. So what becomes second nature to it. The what is anything. So you basically, when you're on a team, when you're not above note taking or any task that you're supposed to do in your job description, that's when you'll perform even more. And that's what you need to look at, or companies need to look for, is people who don't just perform more because they love their work, but perform more because they love where they work.
That's a great point. Thanks for catching it on that. Well, before we close, where can people reach you? What else, or if you have anything else you want to close out with, what's the best place to find you? We'll be looking for your new book. And where can we find all your other books and,
Sure.
and advantage of that?
Yeah, you can go to mostlovedworkplace.com or
Okay.
lewiscarter.com. It's LOUIS Carter.com. Have all of my books on there. You can get certified as a most loved workplace at mostlovedworkplace.com. You can do the process for free. So companies can go there, go through it for free, use the Love Workplace Index, go through that process, no cost, which is anyone can go through the
Amazing.
process. Yeah. It's really a
Why
cool
not?
thing.
Why not? And new book,
All on me.
what are we looking at? The timeline of the new book.
Take about a year. It could take about a year to do, and you take part in it with me by sending me your thoughts around your companies and what you hate at work, what you hate about work, and what you hate about your work, and what you love about it too.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Lou, thanks so much for joining us. What you're doing is amazing, so needed. And I know there's a lot of employees out there that are grateful when your company comes in and makes the difference.
Thank you, Joy, for having me today.